What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio here for a little live stream action. Haven't done one since the National. So I figured I would pop on and just see what questions you guys and girls had. We don't have to talk strictly the National, but, just see what's hopping out there. I feel like the National was its own little bubble, and I'm like semi out of the loop on everything else going on. Good evening, sports card, whatever. So yeah, once again, nothing planned here. Just Q&A, and we'll see where it goes. We'll see if we have any special guests pop in or anything. We'll see. Thank you, Logan. What's up, Joel? I really like their Optic Purple. Hollow will always be more liquid because people search for the Hollow a lot more. I would love an purple. If anyone finds a Luka Optic Purple, PSA 10 specifically, send it my way. I would love one. It's a card that was on my list. Not been able to find one. Just because I love the purple parallels. What is up, Eric? It's time to buy your basketball. I probably should have already been buying basketball, actually. Luka is up quite a bit. Luka has been getting a very nice Olympics bounce, to be quite honest. I really wish the National would have been 1 week earlier because I really wanted Luka Silver Prism PSA 9, and the prices spiked off the start of the Olympics, and I missed my window. Graded marble cards, there was definitely some. I would not qualify that as a lot. But they were definitely on the show floor, but not in massive amounts. So, what is up? One for the task. The voice is slowly coming back. This is actually technically the second thing that I've done today on camera. I'll probably drop it on Friday. I had Hannah from She Collects Cards on for about 30, 40 minutes, just doing a little back and forth post-national chat. So that video will be out on Thursday. It was really good talk. Always enjoy talking to Hannah. She's plays in different markets than I do, so it's interesting to get a take from someone that's dealing like in F1, in soccer, and also in the higher end, whether it's basketball, football, or whatever. Just to get that perspective that I don't necessarily have at the show because I'm not looking or working in those things. So, Keldon could be sneaky, all right. He got really buzzy last year, so definitely anything could happen. I would not be shocked if his stuff went a little crazy. Thank you, Business 124. I haven't had a chance to watch that yet. I saw that drop, but I just haven't gotten to it. I basically got off work, came home, changed my clothes, interviewed Hannah, cooked dinner, relaxed for a little bit, and then decided to hop on and do this because it's pretty much the only time this week I have for a live stream, and I wanted to kind of just sneak one in. So I will definitely be checking that out tonight. You're welcome. Didn't do the vlog thing, like I said. That's not my scene, the vlog style content. So I just did what I do, and it seemed to turn out pretty good. I was happy with it. It wasn't fancy, but just wanted to get stuff up to give you guys the vibe. What is up in Australia, Global? So the big question, if you have full belief and want to invest in newly drafted NFL players before they play their first game, what's the best product to invest in? It's still Prism, but I'm not big on putting money into the current draft class. I think when it comes to NFL, you're better off to almost invest in the guys from like 2 years ago Like the 2018 draft class was the buzziest thing of the National, in my opinion. My two biggest takeaways from National are the 2018 NFL draft class and F1. I don't understand F1. I get that it's hot. I get that it's popular, but those are probably the two biggest buzzy things coming out of the draft or out of the National, in my opinion. Just from what I saw, what I heard, people I talked to. There's so much baked in. I mean, look at like Kyler Murray, for example, last year. His prices were astronomically high. And he played okay. They got a bump, and then they went way down. Like I'd be looking at guys like Kyler and the 2018 class, the 2017 class, even Dak. Dak's hurt now, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. But I would rather put money into those guys than Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, the guys coming in the last 2 years. I think there's a weird little overhype where prices are overinflated for the first year or two, then things kind of recorrect, and then you could do it. And I also personally, once again, this is me personally, I do not like carrying football into season. So ideally, you would have already stocked up on football and look to sell it now. But we'll see. Dakota and I have talked about this, Sports Cards Anonymous, about if players don't see a run up in prices prior to the season, it makes it more likely that their prices will spike once in season stuff happens if they play well. So I would not touch Prism Draft. I would not touch any draft product personally. I saw one slabbed comic book at the National, and it was a good one. It was a Hulk 181, like CGC 9.4, I think, and it looked gorgeous. It was locked in a very nice case, and I did not even inquire about the price because I knew that I could not afford it. Was this the most you spent on sports cards all year combined? Yes, for sure. The previous record would have been the Blue Vlad and the Topps Chrome LeBron. Those were both 2K-ish cards. But I definitely spent more at the National. But that was the plan. I had been setting money aside for 6 months to take to the National. So I actually could have taken more, and I spent most of what I took with me, if not pretty much all of what I took with me. And I could have accessed more. I had money in PayPal or whatever, but I specifically took X number of dollars and spent it. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Mr. Dakota himself. We were just talking about you, good sir. I did not get any silver packs because I don't rip wax, and you have to buy wax to get silver packs. That is not my shtick. No, I'm pretty much still in the same players. I have a very limited pool of MLB players that I like to play with. I still think Devers stuff is a little too cheap. I picked up the purple at the National on a really good deal. So I'm hoping if there's a Tatis dip to get in on that. Sorry about that, chat. So I did not see Marvel Metal. I'm sure David Adams had wax boxes. I didn't ask about it because I've pretty much ripped enough already. So I didn't ask about more. But they brought literally a full semi truck full of wax. So yeah. Thoughts on PS? I mean, that's not surprising. I guess they had some group subbers drop off like 1,000+ cards in one go, and they only have 4.5 days to grade everything. So they knew exactly what they could get through in a day and pause. I mean, I would rather them pause than not be able to get the cards done before the Nationals over. So I didn't bring anything with me to grade on site. The interesting part was I don't think Beckett had the pause, and I guess I don't know this for sure. I think CSG was grading on site, and I guess you could just pretty much walk right up and get something graded. There was no line at the CSG booth. I don't know if they were grading on site or not. The HGA queue has been easier and easier to get in week by week, for sure. This is an excellent question that they probably should have done. Oh, did you ask about it? I didn't even ask about it because I knew my wife and I walked past it, and she's like, I showed it to her, and she's like, "How much is that?" And I said, we could probably pay off our house instead of that. So, pretty much, Nick. Topps Chrome and First Bowman are probably the best place to start. I would recommend checking out Filmington's channel for all things baseball takes. So, I haven't seen one yet, but to be honest, I was a little out of the loop with national stuff. You're so consumed by the national that you almost lose track of the outside sports world, if that makes sense. So, probably not between now and the season starting. I know Filmington bought one at the National for $2,700, and that's one of the lowest prices it's gone for. But that was a cash deal in person, so you're going to get a little bit of a better deal. What would I do differently if anything travel wise? Good question, because I already thought about this. I would get there the night before. So we got in on Thursday, and I wish I would have got there Wednesday night, to be quite honest. To hit the ground running on Thursday morning, and then I left Sunday halfway through the day, or I didn't even go on the show floor Sunday. So I'm not sure what the show floor vibe was like on Sunday. So I heard it was kind of chill on Sunday, but that would be my one thing that I would change. Is I wish I would have left right after work on Wednesday. We drove, so it's about a 6.5 hour drive. And since we drove, we were able to bring a lot of stuff with us, like food wise. So I had like a lot of snacks in the room and stuff, and we ordered pizza in, which was all good. So that was another clutch play. First night, ordered pizza in, and then had that as a fallback option for lunch each day, to be able to go just to be able to sneak back to the room and then eat a quick lunch and then hit the show floor again was clutch. And we were right across the street. So the only other thing I might do is if it was in Chicago again, was just stay at the Lowe's Hotel. It's a slightly farther walk, but that's where all the trade night action is. So it would have been nice just to be able to walk up to the room at the end of those. Sorry. My slabs had a very, very, very small table. I'd actually talked to Ken, the CEO, prior to the National and asked if he was going to be there because I wanted to meet him. But he said he was not going to make it. They were going to have a very small team there. So I have not heard of Vanity Slabs. Nice. Uh-oh. I shouldn't even have mentioned his name. You mention his name, and then he just appears.
Google alerts me when someone says my name. There's only one Dakota that I know of in the world, so.
I mean, there's a north and a south.
Yeah, I still get alerted, and trust me, those don't get mentioned enough to turn off the alerts. So, ooh.
That's fair point. Fair point. And Glorious. So after the National, do you feel more or less confident where the hobby is headed? I touched on this with Hannah. Once again, this video will be dropping probably on Friday. I don't know if this is going to reflect in the charts and graphs, over the next few weeks, but I feel fairly confident just based off of the vibe, the energy, and the number of young people that were at this thing. 22 and under dominated the trade nights, just to be quite honest with you. There were so many kids and so many young people like in their teens, early 20s, just running circles around us old farts that it was insane. So, Dakota, I know you weren't there, but do you have a hot take from watching national content pour in from the sidelines?
For the national overall, no. I think my hot take, I kind of said it today. I just think that the hobby looks strong right now. I know we're at low prices, but it feels strong. And, everyone, even the people who complained about the hobby, talked about how many people were there, like a lot of people. So it was a strong showing. I think that was anticipated. I think more importantly, online sales are strong right now.
Yeah, I really, like I said, it was hard to pay attention to a lot of stuff because when you're there, you're just kind of like there and you lose track of everything outside of it. Like I didn't like check eBay save searches for like 4 days because there just wasn't time. But yeah, like I said, the thing that I felt the best about was the number of youth that was there.
Yeah.
And like they know what they're doing. Like there's like 8-10-year-old kids like that just run circles around you at these trade nights. After the show, are you all in on PSA only now? No, I mean I just literally bought a CSG slab this week. I still target Beckett, so I mean PSA is still going to have the most resale value, but if I see a deal somewhere and I like the card, I'm not going to hesitate. I assume you feel the same way, Mr. Dakota.
What was your favorite part of the show, Neo?
Trade nights and
Trade
meeting
nights.
people.
Do like
Which
on
kinda
trade
go
nights,
hand
when
in
you go
hand.
to a trade night, do you do a lot of trading, or is it mostly just like almost like convention, just hanging out and talking?
Both. So sometimes it would be like Saturday night. I set up at a table, if that makes sense. I had my own table at the trade night, and you just kind of lay all your stuff. Me and Steve laid all our stuff out, and then people would just like literally walk by, and it was almost just like a show. And then like halfway through that, we packed up our stuff and gave our table up, and then we wanted to roam around the room. And then after that, I got just tired. It was hot in there. I went out and sat in the hotel lobby and talked to Sam, and I always forget her name, the lady that owns Bullpen LA.
Mm-hmm.
Talked to them for like an hour in the hotel lobby, just chilling. So, it's like kind of like a little bit of everything. But
All right.
to me, the trade nights were the best thing because it gives you a little bit of both. You get that show floor vibe, but it's easier to go hang out and talk to people and whatnot. So, speak of the devil, and she shall appear.
Hey,
What's going on, Sam? We cannot hear you.
Now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, it's been a struggle for the past 10 minutes. I just caught what you said though. So yeah, Saturday night when we were hanging out, it's Ty. Her name is Ty, T-A-I.
It's the third time I've heard it today, but I just cannot remember it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm sure Hannah probably mentioned her. But yeah, I thought that was fun. We stayed there for a while. We were talking for like 2 hours.
It was a nice vibe out there away from the craziness of literally right around the corner.
Yeah, the trade night was super hot. I was only there Saturday, but it was really hot. I was not about it.
So you were at the show floor on Sunday, and I messaged you and was like, hey, what's it like in there today? So was Sunday like pretty calm?
Yeah, Sunday was great. I loved Sunday just because I could actually it was pretty dead compared to any other day. I was only there Friday and Saturday, but Sunday was like hardly anyone was there. I thought it was super nice because if you I was still trying to meet up with people on Sunday, and so I could just easily get there without I don't know, having to find another way because the route was blocked, so.
Yeah, I agree. This was the best part. What sports card, whatever we're saying here, just meeting all the other, whether it's just watchers or the other content creators and just like hanging out and talking for a little bit, even if it was just for 5 or 10 minutes, was probably the best part of the entire show. And then the trade nights would probably be second.
And then the pizza third.
Yes. Pizza was legit. Pizza was legit. Just scrolling through chat here. Dakota, if you have any random questions for whoever, just fire them out there. Yeah, just go.
For those of you in chat who don't know me, I did not go to National, so I thought I'd hop on and just ask questions that I had. So like during the main part of the show, then like Friday, Saturday, you know, you were talking about how Sunday was kind of, you know, slower. I mean, was like every table like 3 people deep, or could you walk up to a table, see their cards, and start to negotiate, you know, fairly easily? Or was it too crowded, I guess, when it was really busy?
I'll speak to early on. It was pretty crowded. It was pretty hard to get up to certain tables. What I would do is find cards during the day that I was interested in that weren't like super scarce cards. And then I made a list, and then I went at them first thing in the morning when the show floor opened. So at 9:30 in the morning, I was like, I need to go to these 3 tables and talk to dealers about these X, Y, and Z cards. Because you had like a little window up until about 11 a.m. when you could kind of get stuff done, and then it got busy. So, but it sounds like Sam, Sunday, you could have pretty much had the run of the floor.
Yeah, and Sunday was like pretty dead, but I'd say about, you know, 4:35. Yeah, each day the show was definitely dying down.
Just to hop in on Jeff's question here, did you really see kids at the National carrying slabs worth $2K and higher? 100% yes. 100%. I saw kids that probably had 5K slabs, like that they're 13, 14, 15 years old. Where they got them from, I don't know, but they had them. Fire away, Dakota, if you got something.
Well, Dave, I don't know. Dave put down there, yeah. He wonders if parents bought them the cards or they flipped. I don't know, man. A lot of people say it. You've said it, Neo. Jeff says it, although we all see how Jeff interacts with the kids. I don't think people like that too much, but you know, these kids seem sharp. They seem to know the hobby. Whether the parents bought them the slabs or not, they know what the hell they're doing. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a little of column A and a little of column B, but I do think there's definitely a segment of them that probably was like, I'm sure that their parents gave them money to start out with, but the kids are hustlers. Like they run around like nuts, and they are slinging deals, trading, buying. They know their prices, they know their comps. So whether the parents got them their cards or not, like they know what they're doing with them once they got them, I guess would be the big takeaway. Like it's not like you're taking advantage of a kid. If anything, it's the tables are reversed in a lot of cases.
They're like, this dummy.
Well, I mean, you were there on Saturday, Sam. Like when you walked through that trade show in the Lowe's, the second trade night, like it was mostly, what would you say, like 16 to 21, probably?
Yeah, it was very young, myself included. Yeah, I mean, it was super young, but also, I don't know what you were talking about with Jeff, but I saw that kid that Jeff Wilson did the deal with like he has a crazy collection. I think he's like 16 years old. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't really know his story, but I saw he was set up there.
Oh, the kid from the Miami show?
Yeah, the kid from the Miami show. Yeah, I saw him there set up, like, yeah, with all his cards, which is crazy, but
yeah, people felt like Jeff was a little hard with that kid in particular on the deals there in Miami. But I mean, the kid was ruthless too, you know. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he was too hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the kid was rougher on Jeff than Jeff was on the kid, I thought, in that Miami video for sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how the kids got the collection. I don't know. All I can say is that once they got it, they know what they're doing with it. Was my experience, both at Ryan's trade night on Thursday night, I'm going to hesitate to say small because it was crazy, on Friday night, and then the 150 table card show that popped up on Saturday night, which once again was probably the craziest thing I saw the entire show. So
there's a really good question there, Neo, by Beavis Cards.
I only had one dealer recognize me, so I don't think it impacted me one way or the other.
Well, I'll speak for like the Dallas. I mean, I've had it happen at the Dallas and at the Houston, and it warms them up. There's no question it warms them up, and I feel like there's really good conversation to be. Honestly, I enjoyed that. It's not even that they like I. So the one guy that noticed me at Dallas, I paid sticker for what he had, but it was a good conversation for 10 minutes. And so like Neo talks about like enjoying the trade nights. I mean, one of the best things about these big shows is getting to meet people that like doing what you like to do and having real conversations about it. So to me, I like it in that aspect that they're usually more open to having, a little bit of a conversation.
Yeah, the one deal that I recognize, we almost actually did a trade. He had a pink soda refractor that I was looking for, and he was interested in my Trae Young, the premium box PSA 10 that I have, and the comps are like dead on. And he was a little hesitant on it. He's like, it was first thing Friday morning, I think, or Saturday morning. I don't remember the day. And he's like, I'll tell you what. He's like, if I still have the card at the end of the day or you don't find something else, come back to me and I'll probably do that. But I'd like to try to sell it first. I was like, cool. And then I ended up doing a different deal with the Vlad Sapphire at a different table. So I got the card that way. So I didn't have to circle back to him to get that card. And we actually talked later in YouTube comments or on IG. I don't remember which, because he was saying, oh, I see you got your Sotos. So I got recognized more at the trade night. But I think that's kind of like more that scene, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Don't let Neo fool you. He had everyone coming up to him.
Oh, yeah, right. You got recognized too, Sam. I don't want to hear it.
No, not on Neo's level. He's like, are you Neo?
Well, at the trade night, it was like Murderer's Row. It was me, Dustin, Filmington, and Steve all at the same table, and Michael Ham was there too. So it was like a little mini content creators conference at Ryan's trade night on Thursday. So a lot of people would recognize one of us and then be like, the fun part was like, oh, you're Dustin and you're flipping Steve. Oh, all right. Yep. Just here. You're that guy that just talks about charts and graphs.
Yeah. You're not on the camera as much as as those guys. That's all.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. And I was also masked the entire time, so that could have played a little bit of a factor too. 100% this. They are great whites. Feel free to fire away with Dakota if you see anything in chat, or if you just have your own questions as the one that was not at the national.
I saw a good question up there. There's a couple of good questions, but one was, do you think we'll see a post-national dip in price?
Oh, I did see that one. I think if anything, the market's just going to stay flat, if not bump a little bit. I mean, I didn't have a chance to watch your video today, Dakota, but I saw that you posted it looks like, and I glanced at some stuff today. At least Luka, anyway, is definitely on the way up. I didn't dig much further than that, but I think that's more Olympic bump than national bump. Personally, maybe a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But it does seem like things are starting to creep in the right direction in general.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my analysis was essentially like the hobby has always been cyclical, and it looks like it's still cyclical. And it just looks like modern NBA was down because it made sense to be down. And now it makes sense to go up because you have free agency. And there's a lot of hype with free agency. And I don't know that the Olympic bump is real. I know at times with the Olympics, but Trae Young's cards are up too. No one's talking about him in the Olympics. I don't even know if he's in the Olympics. I don't think he is.
He's not.
Yeah, so.
But the only reason I say that is because I specifically noticed it. I had a bunch of Luka stuff saved on watch lists, like buy it nows and best offers, in case someone sends an offer out or whatever. And that first night that he went off, where he scored like almost 50 points or whatever, when I woke up that morning, because that happened overnight, a lot of that stuff got bought out. Like a lot of it was, these listings have been sold. So I think that at least churned the waters, and then, maybe that got things kicked off in the right direction. Yeah, but to me, it's kind of like a confluence of events. You have the perfect time to start buying NFL, Woj bomb season, and we've been in a lull for the last few months, plus national buzz. Like, it's kind of like probably a mix of a little bit of everything, to be quite honest. Been quiet on the old eBay machine.
I do think I think because we talked about maybe I'd get a lot of deals on eBay since I wasn't going to the national, but I think a lot of people didn't have stuff ending then because they were at the national. And I think now maybe a lot of people are taking a little bit of a break because they just got home from the national.
That makes sense.
Oh, I actually had a lot of stuff in like Sunday night because I don't know. I don't know. That was just my brain, but I did. And I was pretty happy. I sold like a pretty big item that I was like just wanting to get off of. So I had a good
All right,
eBay
that's
weekend.
Wonder if that was everyone like, oh crap, I came home with money from the national. Let me spend it on eBay.
Hey, that's actually pretty smart. Sam thinking ahead
Maybe.
there. That was the play all along.
It was, yeah, reverse psychology a little bit. I don't know.
Sam, I'll ask this to you. This was a question I got asked right before you hopped on. Is there anything you would do differently, like coming off your first national, like whether it's travel plans or where you stayed or just anything along those lines?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't stay where I did. So I stayed at the Hyatt Rosemont, which was like a mile away, and there were actually a lot of people from the show, like in the that I saw in the lobby, who were staying there too. But you pretty much had to Uber. One morning, like really early, I walked just because I was like, I'll just walk a mile, but whatever. But so I just Ubered, and it was like $7. One time it was $15, but that's just like extra money that you could, I don't know, do something else with or just pay for a better hotel closer. So that's what I would do differently. But other than that, no, probably not.
I thought when you booked, you pretty much everything local was gone already, like on the scene.
Yeah,
Didn't
that's
you
the
book
thing.
late?
Yeah, I booked a little bit later than most people, so yeah, like the stuff like super close to the convention center or whatever was like prices I was not going to pay. So
Yeah. My only thing is, I think if it was in Chicago again, I actually just think I would look to stay at Lowe's, honestly, just so I could just walk upstairs. You know what I mean? And being on site is nice because it did afford me the luxury of just being able to walk back to the room and just say like, I just need like 45 minutes of like chill time. Like
mhm,
just go back to the room, get something to
mhm.
drink, cool down, just kind of sit there for a little bit, get caught up on like, whatever's going on in the outside world, and then like reset myself and walk back into the show. And it was a 5 minute walk, so it wasn't like you were like missing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I did not do that Friday or Saturday or Sunday, and I don't know if I would recommend it. I was like there all day, the whole day, ate there. Yeah, I think that was pretty bad. I think, health wise too, I was kind of just like, because I kind of felt like, yeah, I didn't really have a place to go back. I didn't want to Uber all the way back. So, yeah,
Yeah, that would be a pain.
I didn't have lunch till like 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock. So it's
I think
kind of
one day
bad.
I didn't eat dinner, and I don't think I realized it until like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, exactly.
Dakota, do you have any hot Carson Wentz takes you want to drop on the live stream?
Carson Wentz is more a buy today than he was a week ago.
Okay, you're done.
Cut him off.
Sam, do you want to give a hot take on your Olympic inventory? I know you moved some stuff prior to the national.
Yeah, I sold most of my Simone really before she pulled out of most of the competition. So I did well in that aspect. Yeah, it's kind of all gone down, honestly. Which I think is kind of to be expected. That was kind of why I sold before the Olympics, just because that's the thing, right? Like you got to sell before the actual event, sell the news, not the event. But
Exactly, 100%. I'm gonna touch on this one. I think the invest world gets thrown around a little too much on stuff like base Luca. People aren't, in my opinion, people aren't buying $900 base Lucas to hold it for 5 years. They're buying $900 base Lucas to sell it for $1,300 in a month or 2 months. So, when we say invest in sports cards, what we probably really should be saying is short-term investment or flip. But people aren't buying Luca base to sit in their safety deposit box and say, "Let me go check in on this when little Johnny gets some time to go to college, so I can pay for it." They're putting it in their case and carrying it around for 3 months, and then hopefully selling it for a few $100 profit in 2, 3, 4 months or whatever. Any hot takes to back that up, guys and girls?
um, Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I feel like Luca I'm sorry, I was like, "Wait, what was he talking about?" Because I was looking at the comments on the other page. Um, but yeah, I think it's more just kind of like a liquidity thing. It's liquid. People can move it, and for now, they can move it. Um, and so I think until it becomes a card that, people just don't think they can move, I don't think they'll want any interest in it. But yeah, it's almost like a dollar bill exchange. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
almost just like exchanging cash. I don't know. That's kind of how I see it.
No, I get it. Yes, Dave, it was Sam with the Simone Biles plays. I didn't see a lot of hockey action, but a lot of people were. There was some McDavid talk and a little Gretzky talk, but that was the most I saw from the hockey stuff. This is a big one. So, conflicting reports on SGC slabs at the National. I'm just going by what I saw and what Flipping Steve saw. It's a big show. You can't see it all. Sam, did you see a lot of SGC action at all? Or, I mean, I know there was a lot of stuff slabbed at SGC, specifically select football. Did you
Mhm.
see people clamoring down the doors for non PSA BGS slabs?
No, but that's the thing. Like, yeah, I wasn't a dealer. I didn't get the whole perspective. Like, and I think I heard you say this the other day where the dealer that whoever went up to, they had a bunch of SGC, but they weren't buying SGC. I mean, that's kind of like what I personally am in. Like, I would slab SGC and sell it, but I don't think I want it unless it's maybe like PC or something. So no, I didn't really see SGC moving, but I did see a lot of it. And not just like the old. I know you also. I was like watching your video, and then you made that comment, and you're like I'm referring to SGC and modern because I was like, yeah, there is a lot of SGC in vintage. Like that was one of my biggest takeaways personally was how much vintage there was at the show. And I think I just noticed it because I was like, I can't really look at this table. I don't really know anything here. So that's kind of why I noticed it. But no, in terms of SGC, I didn't see it, but I don't know what other people saw.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive show floor. Just because I saw one thing and you saw something else could 100% be every person that walking out of there is going to have a different narrative because the show
Mhm.
floor is that big.
Mhm.
So,
For a lot of those shows, Sam, to that point, you're going to see a lot of you'll probably see more vintage than you would think you'd see at a lot of big shows because a lot of those tables are based on guys who have been dealing at that show for a long time, right? Seniority, and
Mhm.
so vintage. To me, vintage is always over showcased at big shows.
yeah, because people that care about it, like the stuff that really carries weight is high grade vintage, depending on what it is. You know what I mean? But that's not my game either. I don't find vintage very exciting. Not saying I wouldn't want like a nice Jim Brown at some point in time in my life, but
There we go. We need to
I
get you
just
in
feel
that
like I
Jim
could
Brown
get into
game.
that stuff whenever. You know what I mean? There's no rush to get into that stuff. I feel like maybe I pay a slightly higher price years down the road, but kind of is what it is. I think the next big show is is Dallas at this weekend or at the end of the month?
End of the month, August 27th, that weekend.
Okay. There's also rumors that show might be moving monthly. They said on Card Talk this morning.
Well, it seems to. I mean, so I've been going to the Dallas now for a year and a half since COVID, and it was a quarterly show, and then it kind of got to every 2 months on occasion, and it's it's a month and a half since the last one. It's getting close there to monthly. So
Yeah. I'm going to fire off on this one real quick. Growing Baker collection for PC or making deals later? A little bit of both. I definitely PC Baker, but I also know if I find good deals on Baker, I could use that locally to get into other cards that I want because Baker is always in demand. If I go to a trade night or a show anywhere around me, people are always going to be asking for Baker. So if I could pick up Baker out of market and bring it back, I could use that as leverage here. So it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
for the next 18 months, let's just put a timestamp on that.
Why? What's going to happen then?
I've said it before. This year coming up will be the single best year of Baker's career, and next year Baker's not going to look near as good. They're going to have to lose Odell and Kareem Hunt. They're going to have to lose a lineman. They're going to have to lose some help on defense because they're going to have to pay Baker. They won't be able to pay all these other guys. So you got a short window on Baker looking like an all-star.
Cap's going up, baby. We got this thing on lockdown.
What's up, Steve?
I'm gonna say he might replace me if he's coming on. I don't know. I gotta head out soon.
I don't know if he's coming on or not. He's just hanging out in chat, but I will send him
Okay.
an invite. I know Sam said she had limited time, but she would pop on for a few minutes.
Yeah,
So,
it was.
do you have
it's
any
cool
other
to pop on.
national hot takes you want to drop, Sam, before you take off?
Hot takes? I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's not a hot take. It's just my take. It's just that I mean, yeah, I felt like I really wasn't even looking for cards until Sunday. Friday and Saturday, I was mainly just looking to find the people I was there to see. So I think that's why it's one of the like best events is because it's just the event for everyone to get together. So yeah, I thought it was pretty that like I was pretty successful in that area, and then also from picking up some cards, not too many, but it was fun.
Did you find any good Luke Kuechly stuff on the floor at all in the dollar bins or value
No,
boxes?
well, I like again, I really wasn't looking for cards until Sunday because honestly, as you're saying, Sunday I could get to any showcase I wanted, stand there for as long as I wanted, without feeling like I was in someone's way or whatever. So I didn't really see any there, but I got some dollar stuff. I got some like dollar Carolina Panthers, like numbered old school player stuff. So that's a win in my book.
Well, yeah, and I would agree with you. There's just so much going on between the you're trying to get stuff done on the show. Me and Hannah talked about this earlier. Trying to get stuff done on the show floor and trying to meet people at the same time and talk, and these people that you've never met before in person is hard to do both simultaneously. I'm gonna keep pushing for they need an intermission day in the middle of the national so everyone can just go hang out with each other and then resume the show. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I felt like it was definitely at night. Like there were so many other events going on that it just kind of kept going. Like it was such a full day. I think I got like 5 hours of sleep both nights, Friday, Saturday. And then Sunday also did not get a lot of sleep, didn't get in till late. So it's a long day, but it's definitely worth it. I hope other people who went had a good time, and those who didn't, hopefully they'll plan to be going to Atlantic City. So that's going
I'm
to be
telling
my.
you, the play next year is massive beach house, Atlantic City. That's the play.
Yeah, I've never been.
Me neither, but
I've heard it's like 45 minutes from either the Newark or Philly airport, so I don't know how I feel about that, but
I'm probably gonna drive.
I'm not driving, but we'll see. Anyways, I'm gonna go, guys. Thank you again for having me on.
Later, Sam. Catch you later.
See ya.
All right. Thanks, Sam, for popping in real quick. She had the Merle's World. I don't know. Like we were literally in the same room with each other, but when I was in the room, you were talking to Steve the whole time at Filmington's party, and then I got pulled out into the madness of trade night. So, and trade night was absolutely crazy, and I am drastically behind on comments. Holy smokes, Steve! I slid into your DMs if you want to pop on and hang out. If not, it's cool. All right, I quickly fast forwarded to the bottom. What is your take on the? I haven't talked about this at all yet. What's your take on the select basketball having the whole blue parallel thing for retail exclusive? Have you seen that yet?
I hadn't seen the blue parallel. I saw that they cut out the club level, which I thought was awesome. I don't know, it just seemed like maybe they did a little bit better with basketball select.
So all the retail basketball products are going to be blue instead of base. You only get base cards out of hobby.
So
like the retail base cards are going to look different than the hobby base cards is basically the gist of it.
That's interesting. I mean, it's going to add rarity to the hobby cards, I guess is good.
Yeah, but are people going to want the shiny retail versions more than the base? You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to rather have? Just a straight base or the blue parallel base?
That's a good
question.
On
a field level, on a courtside LaMelo Ball, might be a bad example because blue's kind of a color match, but would you want his courtside base or his retail courtside base? Because that's going to be like technically a color.
Yeah, but if you look at if pop reports for the courtside hobby is like 100, and then for retail it's like 20,000. I mean, then you want it just depends on pop reports, and I mean it depends on print run, but which we use pop reports to tell us.
I did not talk to. We talked about this earlier, Toa, about it's a big show. Multiple people could see multiple different things. So yeah, that's on the pop report thing. I think it goes back to the market's going to decide which one matters more than the pop report does. Just because something's low pop doesn't mean that it's a good buy or that it's very liquid. I mean, I think there's a fine line to walk between pop and buying the right card, at least for flipping purposes.
No, that's a good point. So say for the retail, there's 4,000 of that card. And then for hobby, there's 3,000. Well, the hobby, the people are going to decide which one's more expensive. But on the other extreme, say that for retail, there's 10,000 and for hobby, there's 100. The hobby is just going to be a lot more expensive.
Yes. I agree. Because I think it really, we've talked about this a bunch I think I've really narrowed my focus down to silvers, hollows, and color match, and anything else, whether it's smart or not, if it's something I don't want to legitimately hold for long term, I don't know that I want to mess with the other stuff. I just feel like if you post a Luka Silver, you could move that thing like that. You know what I mean? If I post a Luka Select Tricolor, I could probably move it, but I can guarantee you I could probably sell the Luka Silver faster, even if it's for different, profit margins or whatever.
Yeah, and they were having that discussion in the chat here. They said 2018 Optic, would you rather have Blue Velocity or Hollow? And, personally for me, for my collection, I like the Blue Velocity more. I think those are good looking cards. And it doesn't even have to be Luka. You pick the player, 2019 too. But if you're looking at flipping, investing the way we say it, 6 months flips, you're better off with the Hollow. It's just easier and more liquid. And it's just the number one refractor people go to.
Yeah, and it has a higher ceiling too.
Yeah, that's true.
Specifically, those two cards. A hollow is always going to outsell the blue, even on Luka, which the blue looks great on Luka because it's a semi-color match. It's a fantastic looking card. It looks gorgeous. Don't get me wrong, but for whatever reason, the hollow is going to do better.
Yeah, and I mean, this whole hollow and silver thing is really overtaking the market because I mean, I spent a lot of time dumpster diving. 2010s, 1990s, 20s. Football, Topps Chrome. And I noticed there for all the base refractor, I mean, that is a refractor. That's what it is. People now say silver refractor, and it's just, I mean, it's another keyword spam, but I mean, that's what people like, man. That is the number one looked for item right now is a silver refractor prism parallel.
Yeah, for sure. So Bob Big Boy here. Silver prisms in football are super short print. Courtside silvers are actually less rare than courtside base, which is, I don't think people realize that. I know we've talked about that a bunch. It is short print for sure, but actually that's one of the weird ones where the base is more short print than the hollow is. I agree with you for looks, but if you're strictly talking resale and flippability, the hollow is over the Blue Velocity. But I love Blue Velocity; they look fantastic. So, you're not wrong, Joel. There's definitely, this is 100% a thing now. The market is flooded with. There's so much color and variations and numbered stuff now for every player. Especially look at Herbert. How many different versions of his select cards are out there? I feel 200.
The one thing they did right with the variations this year, if you go back to 2018, the variations, you had two variations, tricolor. You had a die cut and a non-die cut. The die cut was the one that was SP numbered. But now what they did this year, select the SP number is the full card, which I think is much better because I hate the die cuts. I think die cuts are stupid. I just want a full card. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of those ridiculous select die cuts. 90s Crown Royal die cuts, Upper Deck SP, those are cool, but this select stuff, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, 100% too many variations. That's why you have to buy the ones that matter. If you're going to put money into a player, buy the liquid ones, especially if it's someone that you want to move back out of again, because if that player gets hot, it's going to be easier to move the silver, the hollow, whatever it is. And same thing when it comes to sets. I mean, the rising tide lifts all boats, but I would much rather stick to Prism Optic or Select than get into some of the more niche based stuff, if you will.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you can't make money there. You absolutely can. But if you're just looking to get in it and you want to be able to sell it easier, it's better if you stick with that stuff, especially if it's like a 3-month thing or whatever you're doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I would say, I've talked a lot about 2020 Mosaic, and I guess I've done a deep dive into their variations, and it kind of matches Prism. And I just feel like I've learned that there's a couple that are reserved for hobby, and I try to stick to those. I just got a Burrow Red in, actually. And that's, Red is a hobby exclusive. And then the Choice is another one that's hobby exclusive. You look at those, they're super low print runs. And I think most people know those are hobby exclusives, Choice and Red.
We have another guest. First time appearance on the channel. What is up, Steve?
Yeah. Noob cake. New. I don't even know what to say, man. I'm shaking.
I've been on his channel before, but I never actually had him on here.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Didn't realize that.
What is going on? The flipping of the Steve. Are you fully recovered from the National?
Oh, yeah. I finally got out for my daughter's birthday because I got put on hold because of the dog. You can see him behind me.
How's he doing?
Out. He's trying to heal up, so we've been dealing with him also. We got to help him out a lot, but his walking's getting better, things like that. So that's a good thing. Yeah, we actually had the vet here. We were having him evaluated. We thought we might have to send him to the big card show in the sky, like I was going to say, but he doesn't want to go yet. He wants to chill for a little while. So yeah.
It took me a good 2.5 days to feel back to myself, get my voice back, get back on a normal sleeping schedule again. I'm not used to staying up till 1 or 2 in the morning. Then all of a sudden you do it 4 or 5 days in a row and your whole sleep schedule flips on you fast.
Yeah. I finally just got a little bit of sleep. I was even out in the boat yesterday because a friend was like, hey, I'm taking my boat out, and I haven't got a chance to take mine out much this summer. And I posted an Instagram picture of the sunset. I just wanted to get away from little things and relax. I've been buying cards. I made a couple buys though. I don't know if you guys have bought anything lately. Have you picked up anything since the show?
Just the National stuff. I've been in a post, malaise, but I have actually. So I'm in the Northeast Ohio area. Obviously, there's actually 2 card shows this weekend centered around the Hall of Fame. They're smaller, and then a shop about an hour away from me is doing a trade night as well on Friday. So I'm trying to evaluate how I want to attack all that, but I haven't dove back in yet. I think it's just a little bit of mental fatigue on I looked at cards for essentially 4 straight days for 12 hours a day, actually probably 16 hours a day. And I just needed a little bit of a timeout, but I feel like I also missed the window on some stuff already.
I don't know about missed a window. I mean, that's what my video today was about, probably modern basketball. I don't know that you missed a window. I think just mostly
I missed the bottom.
You missed the bottom, but man, you're gonna miss the bottom. You have to get lucky to hit the bottom.
There's
For
still
sure. But
bottom
there's still
on some players though. I think you saw what I saw today. Yeah.
There are still a lot of players that are at the bottom.
Oh,
for sure.
Yeah, the big players that we use for our charts. I mean, in my opinion, those guys are lead indicators. Those are the guys that trend first, and then everyone kind of follows suit. So they're just kind of warning signs.
Yeah, I got a bunch of offers in on some stuff, waiting for some to get back with me. Some have been declined, so I've had to re-offer. Some are still sitting. I bought another Pulisic card, another Pulisic auto rookie yesterday, but it hasn't arrived yet. And I bought a Pascal Siakam Select Silver today. I think his market's way down. I felt the same way about Darren Fox when I bought that Optic Hollow that night. There's still basement on a lot of guys. Now, I'm not saying these guys are going to be the best in the NBA this year, but they're so low right now that I feel like you can't help but get a positive return on some of them.
Plus the entry point's low. $200 on a Fox Hollow. Even if that goes down, he's a pretty good player. What's the floor on that card if he plays bad? 125. You know what I mean? So you lost $75, but the upside of it going to 300, 350 is 100% worth that risk.
Yeah, the low risk. I tried to make an offer for that big lot of Michael Porter Jr.'s. It was 10 of them, but so it wasn't that much per card. But because it was 10 of them, it would have been a little bit of a big investment to go in. I made that offer to that guy, and he got really, really pissed off. Started calling me names, and all kinds of ridiculous stuff. Then I realized I was dealing with a kid, I think, because his Instagram picture looked like he was like a really young dude. And I think he just got mad because I didn't want to give him what he was asking, which was more than market. You saw the deal, Neo. You know what it was. I don't really need to get into it. I actually got a long text thread from him that I could make into like a nice little entertaining YouTube video. I would block his name out because I'm not going to be the kind of person to be like, hey, look at this butthead. But, it was entertaining. He just kept going and going and going. And he was like, why do you waste my time? He was saying to me by offering me low offers. So the comp on the card is 280. And I offered him 240 per card, and I was going to buy 10 of them. So I was like, it's 280 on eBay. I was buying on Instagram. So he wasn't getting eBay fees. And I was buying 10 of them, 10. That's one big sale for him as opposed to having to piece them out individually. I didn't think 240 was a low ball offer based on the comps and his fees and buying in bulk. But apparently he felt offended by it.
Yeah, I mean, after eBay fees, that's what, like 250 something per low 250s per card, maybe. Plus, if you're splitting it up, multiple shipping, and then more chance that one gets lost in the mail or returns.
I even offered to pay the $72 PayPal goods and services on it myself, so it would have been $24.72 basically.
Nah, he made a mistake. That offer was more than fair.
He's looking at the potential in his card as opposed to the current status of the market on the card. So I can't pay him for potential.
Exactly.
The comp, I when I traded for that red tray cracked ice at Thursday night, that kid was like, yeah, but that's a low comp. Like a month ago, it was this. And I'm like, it's not a month ago. I'm like, there's a comp from 2 days ago at 330 or whatever it was. I'm like, the one before that was like 340, 350. So, we're working off today's comp, not a month ago's comp. I'm like, if you're going to work off last month's comp, then my cards are on last month's comp. And, we ended up closing the deal on it. He was like, yeah, you're right. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And he told me, he was like, no, this is where my offer stands. And I was super cordial to the guy. I was like, I completely understand. I said, if I were you, I said, I probably wouldn't sell him to me either at 2,400 if you don't need money. Cause he was like, no, I'm not desperate to sell. I don't need money. I was like, okay, well, I understand your situation. If you don't need the money, I'm looking to buy him for that much. So if he doesn't need the money, if I was in his shoes and didn't need the money, I probably wouldn't be looking to sell him for that much. And that's what I told him. I said, it makes sense for you to keep him, but it doesn't make sense for me to pay any more. I said, so that's just where we're at. I said, and it's fine. I completely understand. And then he completely just started like going troll mode on me, like on Instagram.
That's funny.
Like mad.
How was, I think we talked about this a little bit. Were most of your dealer interactions pretty solid? I didn't really have any problems with like dealers on the show floor and stuff at the National. Everyone that I worked with was smooth.
Yeah. My buying was really smooth, except for the one lady that got snooty about the vintage card. But
you told that story a couple times already.
But my buying was really smooth. Pretty much every time I made an offer, they took it. There was not like long negotiations. If something was marked 350, one card was marked 350, offered 300, they took it. One was marked 325, offered 300. That seemed to be my magic number. They took it. Now selling was a little bit different because I had stuff that you couldn't comp. And dealers were a little they weren't very inclined to take items that they couldn't find comps on because they didn't know a safe entry level on a card. And that's something I learned. I haven't put my video out yet because I just haven't had time. But that was something that I really learned for myself because normally I roll in high liquidity cards, not necessarily all base stuff, but stuff that tends to be base, affordable color, doesn't have to be serial numbered, reds, silvers, hollows, and base if it's not super high pop count. But I tend to roll in that high liquidity stuff. And going into the National, my mindset was I need to have stuff that nobody else has. Because if everybody's carrying the same stuff around, you're going to be able to get it off of, Peter cheaper than you can buy it off Paul. You know what I mean? Because everybody's got the same thing. So I just, I got myself into, I sold off a lot of my low end stuff and bought high end stuff to try to move at the National. And that was my first time really dealing with, RPAs numbered out 15, you know what I mean? No comps on that stuff. So unless you really give the dealers a really, really safe buy-in point on your card, which sometimes, which could mean taking a loss for myself. They weren't really interested in buying. And you know how much attention the Baker got that you ended up with. I had a cash offer for that. That was fair. It was completely fair, but I just wanted a little bit more for it. And then other people looked at that card, and when they went to look up comps, that was quote unquote out of their mouth. They were like, "Oh, there's no comps on this card. I can't buy it. I wouldn't even know what to resell it at." I mean, they're like, "I don't know what to buy it at. I don't know what to resell it at." You would have to sell it to me really cheap in order, to get it. There was a Christian Pulisic. I have a Christian Pulisic auto rookie select numbered out of 75. It's got a pop of 3 on it. There was another one at a table that I wanted to buy. They wanted $2,000 for it. The last comp on eBay was mine, which is 800. So I bought mine at 800 a little while back, but they wanted $2,000 for theirs. And I'm like, well, I have one. If you want to give me any kind of ballpark purchase for it, I'm like, hey, if you're selling one for $2,000, I'll sell you mine for $1,300. You know what I mean? Because I bought it for $8,000. I'd be making $500. I know where I stand. I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But then they're like, well, then I'll have 2 of them and I don't know if I can move them. Well, you're probably not moving it because you're priced $1,200 more than the last comp. Now I understand that there's not many comps. In fact, like I said, the last comp was my card. But it was just, it was tougher. You had to be in on those types of cards at a really low entry point as a seller to be able to move them to a dealer and still make yourself some profit. Now, moving them in the trade shows and stuff, that was completely different. That's where, like you said, the big spicy low end stuff moved better and you got bigger dollar for it because people were willing to buy it. They couldn't find it in the show. I don't think there was another Baker Flawless laying around that show anywhere.
There was a couple, but not RPAs.
Right.
Jaded Wolf had that one with the diamond in it or whatever. But those comp actually higher than the RPAs typically.
And she's really high end. All she really does is autos. If you ask her, what are you looking for to buy? She's like, I just do autos. So, and I do a lot of transactions with her in Philly. She doesn't go to Dallas, but she's from, I think, the New York area. So I made like 4 or 5 purchases off her at the last Philly show. And I took some stuff to her at this show because I had some of that high end stuff, but even still, she didn't want to come in very strong.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this a bunch now on a various different videos. The National is, and maybe it wasn't like this in the past. Maybe this is like new age National because of the trade nights. It's 2 different beasts. There's the inside the show floor, and then there's the trade nights, and you need to attack each one differently. You either want cash for the show floor, or to your point, Steve, I think if your case would have been a dozen Lucas Silver PSA 10s and 9s, I bet you could have probably traded those all day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then at the trade nights, if you have the weird, I don't want to say weird, but like the low pop spicy stuff. I mean, we saw multiple times across multiple trade nights. You threw those Pulisics out at the table at Ryan's on Thursday, and people were stopping by like crazy looking at them. You put out the Baker and the Darnold and the Kyler and that Magic auto on Saturday night, and people were stopping by like crazy. Now, to your other point, the big deal that you made with the Darnold and the Kyler, you guys, and he had a card that was extremely hard to comp as well. Yeah, that took you guys a while to both get to a number that you felt comfortable with because there was no comps.
Yeah, there was
like,
no comps.
You guys made a deal. There was a lot of like, hey, like, okay, well, a PSA 10 did this. This is a BGS 10. There's no comps on my stuff either. So it was like really, you guys were really trying to feel each other out as I was having a minor heart attack.
Yeah, okay, so I still haven't done my video, but my plan was to get out of my NFL and into my NBA. That was my biggest thing. I wanted to turn a lot of my NFL stuff into higher end NBA or liquid NBA stuff. So moving those 2, the Sam Darnold and the Kyler Murray, those 2 high end cards for that big Zion. I think I just got, like I said, I think I got more liquid and Zion's down right now, or he's stable. I'm not going to say he's down, but he's stable. And I know he was getting a lot of buzz in the show. People were talking about not having Zions to sell or not wanting to sell. Every table I went to, a lot of modern young basketball players weren't out. Now, I don't know if because people didn't want to take take up room in their showcase, or if they just weren't out. Like I couldn't even find Tyler Hero stuff, and you know how I'm prospecting on him a bit. I couldn't find his stuff. Like even when I asked for it, no, it's just not worth me to move it right now. You know, people are waiting for that buzz to move it. The only two that I found, I bought. And like I said, I was super happy. I sold one Daniel Jones for $400, bought two silver Tyler Heroes for $300, and had $100 left over. So I turned one Daniel Jones into two Hero Silvers and $100. And that was my goal, was to get out of that football stuff that's, I think, is hyped up right now, get into the NBA stuff that's down, flip my NBA stuff when the hype starts, you know. And it's starting. I wish I would have got more. I wish I could have gotten more. I still am. I'm buying, like, I've done nothing but like try to look for deals since I've been home.
Yeah, I didn't see, like, I was looking for Tatum, Trey, and Luka mostly at the show, and there was definitely a lot of Luka out. But what I noticed on the Luka anyway, it was super high end Luka or Luka Prism base. There was not a lot of Luka silvers like on the show floor, for example. There were some, but not a lot. There was next to no like Trae Young silver PSA 10, PSA 9s. There was a lot of high end Trae Young, like 10K, 15K, 50K Lukas. That stuff was out, but not like that 1K to 3K range of stuff, like the stuff that moves, basically. I didn't see a lot of that stuff. I didn't see really any Tatum silvers. I saw one Tatum green on the entire show floor, and it was a BGS 9.5. And to your point, I did not see a lot of like the random guys, like that next tier down, like the more spec plays. And I wonder if part of that is that table space is valuable and they want to put stuff out that's going to move, not like, you know, I'm going to throw Tyler Hero out for the two guys in the show that are looking for Tyler Hero, whereas I can put a high-end Luka card there that has a better chance of moving.
There's an interesting comment from Hobby Champs if you want to pull that.
Yeah, I saw that one. I was going to circle back on that. I'll let you boys fire away.
It just says liquidity is such a noob and flawed concept. Only buy long-term holds and you're protected literally forever. Yeah, but I mean, long-term holds as in Patrick Mahomes, is that a long-term hold right now? Or are you still kind of prospecting on his career? Or are you talking about going back and buying Michael Jordans because they're already established? I mean, what do you mean by a long-term hold? That definition applies differently to everybody. And for myself, I did buy a 1954 Ted Williams, a 1927 Lefty Grove. So I'm buying stuff to hold as well. I bought Larry Bird. I got two Larry Bird autos. So yeah, but you got to have, you know, unless you got deep pockets or you're rich or something, you gotta get your income somehow to buy this stuff. So, you know, I don't get only buy long-term holds. You really limit yourself on what you can do unless you're, you know, a rich man or something like that.
Yeah, I don't want to be rude, but I don't get this take at all. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I mean, when we say liquidity, I think, at least from my perspective, that's when I say liquidity, that's what I mean is investing. Something I'm going to be able to sell very easily over the next 3 to 6 months and hopefully make a few dollars on. I mean, when I look at any price chart that's more than 2 years long, it ain't pretty, right? You know, I mean, that's, if you look at price charts from 1990 to 2018, it's not very pretty. So this whole it's safe long term, I don't agree with that. And to your point, Steve, who's safe? Are you going to buy Jordan now? He's already up. Are you going to buy Mahomes? What if he doesn't win another Super Bowl? His cards are going to go down. There's 3 Super Bowls baked into his prices right now. So I mean, I don't know about this protected forever.
Only long-term card that I own that I hold, there's 2. It's the LeBron Topps Chrome Rookie, but I felt like I bought that at the bottom, you know, a month or 2 ago. I don't know that I see that card ever going lower than that point of when I bought it. Maybe it does, but I'm perfectly fine holding that card forever. And maybe the Chalk Toss that I bought, because I feel like I bought that kind of low, and that's like one of LeBron's iconic cards. Beyond that, the rest of my collection I view as something I can move off to, other than maybe some Baker stuff, but I almost separate Baker stuff because it's part PC, part, you know, move it for other stuff. So
yeah, the way I look at it is I'm starting to PC some vintage stuff, which if PC is long term, let's just call it what it is. But so if I feel like I can buy a player like Tyler Hero and get a couple of his nice cards for $300, you know, and in like 2 to 3 months that can be $600. Now that's $600 I have to spend on a vintage card, or $300 to spend on a vintage card, and $300 left over that covered my initial expense, as opposed to just coming out of my pocket $600 and having it tied up into one card that I'm not going to move for whatever my long-term definition is. So that's the way that I play the hobby game. It's been working out well for me. I'm not trying to like sound like I'm a genius or anything, because I've had misses. I've taken losses. Luckily for me, the wins have outweighed the losses. And that's just the way that I, fluctuate through the market. And I do believe in long-term cards, but I believe that can be a really good way to get there, as opposed to just shelling out, half your paycheck for a card, and now it's just sitting in a box. Considering a lot of the long-term stuff doesn't move as volatile in the market, as opposed to, if I see a $600, for instance, the Ted Williams card I bought for $350, that card probably doesn't move. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to be like, I got to buy that now because in 3 months it's going to be a $700 card. I don't have to look at it from that way. I can look at it as in I can play the modern market a little bit and make myself some money, and then buy a nice card to put away. And I can put it away because that money's really not tied up. That's money that was made extra on the side.
Yeah, I agree. Interesting question here for Mr. Wonderful. If you have 1K to put into things, I don't know that you necessarily have to put it in the high pop stuff. You can mix it around. Go buy, maybe a Luka Optic base for 400, and then maybe go buy a De'Aaron Fox Optic Hollow PSA 10 like Steve did for 200, and then go buy a Baker Mayfield Don Russ Optic for 200 or whatever. You don't have to put it. You could do a lot of. I think people underestimate how much you could actually buy with $1,000, especially if you're looking at short-term flips.
Yeah, I think having a plan for your money is so important. I think if you have a grand, I have no problem putting it into high pop cards, but I do want to diversify and put it into different players if I'm going to put it in those high pop cards. And
yeah, I wouldn't drop 1,000 all in the one player. I would split that 1,000 up.
And also, I think the pop count talk. Now I get it. There's high pop, but there's also low pop, and low pop doesn't necessarily mean value. This is one thing that I've been thinking about for the past week, because like when you look at the Luka Prism and you say it shouldn't be worth so much because there's 17,000 of them, and then you look at his hoops and the pop count on it is maybe 500 or less. I don't know where it's at, but I'm just throwing a random number out there. Just because the pop count is low doesn't make the hoops any more valuable, because the demand for the hoops card is not there. And as long as the price of the high pop card remains obtainable to the most in the demographic, that's what they're going to buy. Only when the Prism card gets pushed out of the demographic of a majority of the buyers is it going to getting bought up. So there will always be a balance, because as a price gets lower, people are like, oh, I can afford it now, I'm going to buy it, push it back up. Okay. Now I can't afford it anymore. These people can't afford it. The people who can afford it have bought it. Now it might come back down. Now all of a sudden, boom, boom. Oh, I got to get it. It's back down. Push it back up. And it's just an ever-going cycle to where it's never really going to fall below a certain basement. That's my take. That's just my thought. I could be completely wrong. You guys might completely disagree, and that's cool. But that's the way that I'm looking at it, that if it always remains affordable, then it's going to be bought. And then when it's getting bought, that's the demand that's going to drive it back up, even though it's a base card with a lot of pop.
Yeah, unless something like there's an event that happens with that player, an injury or an off the field thing or something like that, where the bottom falls out. If it's a hot player like a Luka, for example, there's always going to be a floor there. Same with Zion, same with Ja. Like those guys are always going to have. I talk about it when you look at the charts or whatever. It seems like they reach these round numbers, they dip below them, and then they immediately spike back above it, and then they dip back below it again, and immediately spike back above it.
Yeah,
people probably have in their mind of like, oh, when that Zion-based Prism hits $400, I'm buying.
Exactly. I was going to say Ja Morant. When that Ja Morant Prism hits $200, I'm a buyer. That's how many people are sitting back saying that, and then it pushes back up to 300, 350. They're no longer buyers, but the people who missed that window are now the next people in line waiting. So. And to that, it's relative to the secondary brands, when you start getting into hoops and Revolution and things like that, which are cards with low pop and cards that people like. But the thing is, if they can afford the premium card, they're never going to get pushed back down into those lower end cards. like the hoops and stuff. People were buying hoops and Revolution back during the spike because that's all that they could afford. Now that the Prism, like the John Morant, is a $200 card, the hoops is no longer a $300 card, which it once was. It's directly relative to the price of the Prism, and as the Prism goes up, if it doesn't go up too high, people are just going to wait for it. And so I see even the other brands, like some of the offshoot brands that people even like, just aren't getting the demand because there's not crazy spikes on the Prism card. Optic and Select, I consider them with Prism just because they're, higher end cards. You'll always have people that prefer those to Prism just because they are some of the big three. The question was like, if I had $1,000 to invest in a high pop card, I mean, it's the definition of a high pop card. So again, it could be low pop. Luka Revolution might be low pop, but that doesn't mean I'm going to buy it because it's low pop, because it's not going to be liquid. It's only going to be.
If I had $1,000 even, I would not go out and buy like one Luka Prism base.
Right.
I would rather spread that
No, me
around
neither.
to other stuff.
Me
It might
neither.
still be Prism based. Like people were talking about SGA in the chat. Like I would probably rather have like one SGA Prism base, one De'Aaron Fox Prism base, or maybe two of each or whatever. You know what I mean? Like spread it around a little bit. I would rather have 5 to 10, $100 to $200 cards across 3 or 4 different players than one Luka Prism base. At least that, especially if we're talking about today, if we're talking about Luka at around 600 to 650, where he got for like a hot second, that's a different story. Like I would have probably been more willing to buy 2 at that price because that card's probably going back to $1,000 or at least close to it if you can get into it for around 650, 700. Steve, do you have any comments on this? People to National saying Jordan's Mantle Mays are not that rare, scarce, pricey, yes, but very available. I saw more Jordans this week than I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, there was a lot. Now, Mantles in general, yes, there was a lot. There was, for the price that you see that card go for, when you see one go off on golden auctions or whatever for, millions of dollars, and then you see some in showcases, graded 1s, 2s, or whatever. There was quite a few. The Willie Mays card was actually one that I was targeting, the 52 tops. However, I didn't see a lot of those in the grade that was within my budget. I wanted like a 1 or a 2. I just wanted it to be authentic, to be honest. I didn't really want it to be altered authentic. So I was looking for a 1. I had my eye set on a 1.5, but they were a little high. They were $3,500, which was high. And the vintage dealers weren't necessarily willing to negotiate. And that's fine. Vintage cards is a whole different ball game. So there's not a lot of comps and a lot of negotiation. And a lot of those people aren't trying to rush and sell their Willie Mays rookie cards. There was a lot of Jordans. You would see them like every other table, and you would see some tables with multiples. Again, but it plays into supply and demand. It's a really high demand card, and it'll always be liquid. And they're of all grades. You see them over the show of all grades. When I think the word scarcity, when we talk about the word scarcity, we talk about something that's got like a low serial number or something you just don't see that much. So as far as seeing those cards, they were everywhere. Trust me, I did a vintage shopping day with Ryan all day where we took a couple hours, and there was vintage everywhere of all players. One guy did say for every 25 Mantles that he sells 1 Willie Mays. So that was what one vintage dealer told me. So I was like, that's why I was looking for a Mays card. But the stuff was there. It wasn't scarce, but I'm not going to say like it's junk wax. That's I don't think that's what people mean. Okay, it's not scarce. Oh my God, it's overprinted. That's not what people mean by it not being scarce. It's easy to find, but that doesn't mean that it's everywhere and in good condition.
Yeah. To Mr. Wonderful's point here, there was definitely a lot of base there. I don't know that I saw people buying or not. I wasn't looking for it, so it didn't stand out to me in cases. And there could have been a lot in value boxes. A lot of people would put out long boxes with prices as marked slabs. And to be quite frank, I just never had time to dig through those. You would see Luka Prism base in cases, Zion Prism base in cases, like showcases. And to go back to the earlier point, showcase space at the National is extremely valuable.
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to put something like that in there, they'd have like 12 of them stacked on top of each other. You know what I mean? People going to the National, especially dealers, are putting out their best of the best, because it might be the one time in 3 months someone walks by and has interest in a Luka purple numbered to 50 that's a 25K card. You know what I mean? That's one of the few chances a year that they have to probably move that card in person in a cash transaction. So that stuff's getting the table space at the National. Whereas base stuff's probably getting shoved to, they're not dollar boxes, but dollar box equivalent where you'll flip through. And I just didn't have time to dig through that stuff. It was too busy.
Yeah, like with me, it's tough to say what was being bought. It's easier to say who was being bought. You know, I can tell you which players were in high demand, but not necessarily which card of those players was in high demand, because I didn't actually stand around and be like, okay, Josh Allen is hot, and I'm going to walk around and see what Josh Allen cards everybody's buying. In fact, I probably didn't see a single person buy a Josh Allen card. It was just, I heard it through the grapevine type deal coming from the dealers. I've sold all my Josh Allens. Do you guys have any you can sell me, because I need them for my inventory? That's where we get a lot of our information from, is from the dealers, as opposed to actually seeing the transactions take place. You walk up to a dealer, how's your show going? Oh, I'm doing good. Oh, you got a case? You got any? There's certain players I'm looking for. And that's how you get a feel for actually what's moving by what the dealers are selling. And like I said, I couldn't find Tyler Hero stuff, more than likely because it wasn't in the showcases. And even the people that I asked didn't want to sell it, but they had it. They just want to put it out. But, and that would kind of like Neo said, the base stuff, you would probably have to specifically ask for it. And never was I really at a table where someone specifically asked for it, but that doesn't mean that people might not have wanted it. I do know at the trade night and the card show, people on a certain budget were looking for base cards. They would buy them if you had them on your table. Neo got asked about his Dak Prescott optic quite a few times. Yeah. And, you moved your Luka, things like that. So it's like people were, because there's a budget for everybody. Not everybody can afford scarce RPAs and stuff. There has to be a buyer for the $100 and $200 base card rookies. There just will be a market for that always. You just hope that market sticks around and there's enough demand in that market to keep up with the supply. Currently, right now, it's looking like it's starting to look that way. It's looking pretty good, because people are, I feel like the hobby got some lifeblood pumped into it coming out of the National. And when I woke up Sunday to come home, I was ready to buy. Like I said, I've done nothing but shop. Now I've only purchased 2 cards, but I've done nothing but try to make deals since I've been home, because for me personally, I feel a rush. I feel a rush in the hobby. So, there
was really good energy in that room. There was really good energy at the trade nights. Like, I don't know how you could walk out of there and not feel at least semi-positive. And I've said this a bunch. I said it earlier in the stream. My biggest takeaway in regards to like it moving forward was the youth that was there. There were so many kids. And when I say kids, I'm talking 10 to like 22, because I view 22-year-olds as kids, because I'm that age now. But especially at those trade nights, they were the dominant force, not people like me and Steve. Like, we were outnumbered 10-1 Saturday night in the Lowe's Hotel, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And it was that age group that was like, hey, how much do you have on your DAC? They were asking about that stuff, because they might have had $500 in their pocket for the show. You know what I mean? Not everybody went there with large amounts of money or big cards to trade. There is a market on that stuff still. I know people are saying, and I've said it myself, I have, buy rarity, look for hollows, look for scarcity. But it depends on what ballpark you're playing in. I might be playing in a little bit of a bigger ballpark than the average budget might be playing in. So for me, that's what I'm buying. That doesn't mean that I say don't buy anything else. That's just, I once was a huge buyer of that stuff, and I try to work my way up through up the ladder of getting into bigger cards. I'm not going to say better cards, but bigger cards, because in someone else's mind, they might not be better, but the numbers don't lie. When you look at the values, the numbers don't lie, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a better card in someone else's mind.
I haven't had a chance to watch Bench Clear's video. I heard that they had one out, but I haven't had a chance to watch it.
I started watching it, and they lost me. And I don't want to like get in a bickering match or anything with Bench Clear or anything, but I think they just wanted to be right about their first take about the National was going to be a liquidation event. I mean, that's what they said, quote unquote. That's what they called it, a liquidation event. And then when they come on their live stream, they were like, all I saw was people with their Pelican cases trying to sell to the dealers. That's all the whole show was. What is the definition of a liquidation event? That's exactly what it is. So we were right. They even went back and showed their previous clip. And I'm like, I don't know what show they were at. I don't know what show they were at, because you go back and you watch Card Talk today, they were talking about people buying like crazy. And I saw people buying like crazy. Everything was going on. There was buying, there was selling, and there was trading. Okay. Just because people were there selling their stuff doesn't mean that they were liquidating, because how many cards did I actually sell in the show? Maybe 2. You know, I wasn't liquidating. I wasn't willing to just cut ties with the stuff that I have. So, and I had a case of like 100 cards here. You know, it was my workout. But so yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's. Yeah, I am. I mean, that's bullshit. It just was. It wasn't true, at least through my eyes. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I missed something, but people were buying, people were selling, people were trading. Everything was going on. It wasn't people going in there with their cases looking to sell everything off. And the dealers have to get their inventory from somewhere. Do they just go to the bathroom and take a crap in their toilet and be like, okay, I got some inventory, boys, let's go sell it in the showcase? I mean, it's like they buy off the people who buy raw and get their stuff graded through mass grading submissions. They keep the dealers supplied with inventory. I know, because I go to my PC, which is like 2 hours away. I mean, my LCS. We hope my PC ain't 2 hours away. Shit, I have a heart attack. But my LCS is 2 hours away, and they do group submissions. And when their group submissions come back, they ask people, hey, do you want to sell us your slabs? I need them for the store. You know, so it's like everything's one big circle that works together. I'm tired of actually talking about it, because I still don't get it, and I guess I never will. And, you know, people sell to the dealers, and the dealers sell to the collectors. You know, a collector might get a card. One of the complaints, I got a train coming through, it's going on. But anyway, one of their things was he wasn't very happy because he was trying to get to a dealer. He wanted to buy a card, but someone was up there with their case, and the dealer was going through it, you know, looking to buy stuff. So a comment that he made was like, you know, people are here trying to sell their stuff off to the vendors. Now I can't even buy anything. It was along those lines. This is not word for word. You have to go back and watch it, but it was along those lines. And I'm thinking to myself, he might buy something out of that case that when you get up there, you buy off him. And if he doesn't buy it out of that case, you don't get it. You know, these cards, you don't know how many hands and how many people they have passed through. You know, this thought that inventory just magically shows up under the Christmas tree and the dealers put it into their case and sell it to you at the National. That's fantasy land. I mean, everybody has to be buying and selling and working, and everybody does their own hustle. And, you know, you got a dealer, you got a flipper, they work together, they get their stuff off each other. You got consumers that buy, the flippers buy. I mean, it's one big, massive ball of just everything.
It's an ecosystem. It's
exactly.
It's just like a habitat. Everything survives off everything else. And if something gets screwed up on one end of the pond, it has ripple effects on the other end of the pond. Sometimes it takes a while for those effects to get to the other side of the pond, but it gets there. Yeah. You know, I talked to, I knew a couple dealers that were set up, and I talked to them, and they said that there were more people trying to sell on Wednesday. Like as soon as the show opened, there was people that were walking around trying to move stuff. But as the show got past Wednesday, that kind of stopped. Like it turned more into the normal back and forth stuff. So
yeah,
it's probably just a lot busier. And like the bench clear stuff, man. I mean, I basically put out a response video to their first one. And even my video today is kind of a response video to their second one. You know, I don't know. I didn't buy what they were saying in their first video. And then when they said, you know, to Steve's point, the liquidation event, it was ridiculous. I mean, in your guys' opinion, what would a liquidation event at a card show like that look like? To me, it would be like the dealers aren't buying anything. They're only selling. And
yeah.
I mean, that's clearly not what was happening. They were trying to buy inventory. So that's literally not a liquidation event.
A liquidation event means everyone in the hobby is trying to sell. The dealers, the collectors, the people who are trying to sell to the dealers to begin with. I mean, dealers wouldn't be buying if they were trying to liquidate. And flippers wouldn't be buying one card for one table and going to the next table and to the next table trying to hustle and snowball a card into some money. If they were looking to liquidate, everybody would just roll in there with their case and be like, give me 30% comp and please take this off my hands now. I got to go home and pay the electric bill. That would have been the case, but it wasn't. There was, and if you watch Card Talk, I watched today and I was so glad that they addressed the fact that there was lots of money changing hands, lots of people buying off everyone and selling to everyone.
Yeah, and then we talked about this before. Then the trade nights, cash is flowing at the trade nights too. There's a lot of people just buying and selling at the trade nights. Like they're called trade nights, but they're really just card shows.
Yeah. I bought. There's a lot of tables I went up to at the trade night. I was like, man, what do you got on that? And I bought 2 cards Saturday night cash, at least 2, and I bought a handful of cards in the show cash, a Larry Bird, Larry Bird auto, a Tony Hawk auto. Like I said, the 2 vintage cards. I bought, and that's diversity. I bought a Tony Hawk, I bought a vintage, I bought a modern. I went to the trade night, I bought 2 more moderns. It wasn't even like one thing was, at least in my box, it wasn't like just one thing going into it.
Yeah, and from what I saw, a lot of the people that were selling to go buy other things.
Yeah.
They weren't selling to go home with a stack of cash.
Right.
It was, I really want this card over here. I need to sell some stuff over here so I could go over there and buy it. Or I ran out of money and I want to sell stuff because there's more stuff that I want to buy. And to your point, the dealers aren't going to buy unless they're selling it on the flip side. They're not going to buy just to buy. So,
like
they're buying to refill their case because it got to the end of the day Thursday and then we're running out of space. Their
like
cases
we said
were getting empty.
Monday, like we said on the Monday stream, we were walking around and there was people with signs on their showcases. And I'm not talking about the display signs that every vendor has that says, the cliche buying, trading, selling sign that everybody has. I'm talking about notebook paper and Sharpie that says we are buying, taped to the top of their empty showcase. Okay, to get your attention, just in case you're not looking at the flag behind them. So, like I said, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty interesting question here. Did you enjoy this,
Neo? Before you get to that, I'm gonna head out.
Okay, later, Dakota. Thanks for popping in for a little bit.
Thanks for having me on. Good seeing you, Steve. Thanks everybody.
Yeah,
see you, chat.
And I'm gonna wrap up pretty soon too, Steve. I've been going for about an hour and a half now, but I did find this question interesting. If you had to pick one, the show or the trade nights, I'm really torn on this actually.
Yeah. Okay, so with the show, I could specifically target a card and try to hunt it down. So the thrill of the hunt, especially that day I was looking for the right vintage card to buy, which I ended up buying in the hotel lobby. So go figure. The Ted Williams 1954 tops, they wanted $350 for it in a PSA 3, like every table. And like I said, vintage really didn't want to negotiate. And that's not a bash on vintage. That's just how the vintage market works a lot of times. And some may have wanted to negotiate it. I'm not trying to put them all into one barrel because there might be a vintage dealer out there saying, hey, I was willing to negotiate. What are you talking about? So, but most of the ones that I went up to anyway, it was too big of a show to cover everything. And that's why some people may have seen things that other people didn't see. And, we may have seen something that they didn't see. And because there's certain tables I never even got to and wanted to get to. I never got to Card Collectors 2 table. I never got to slab stocks.
To be fair, you could walk past Card Collector 2 table and might not be able to get to it.
Probably because it's probably buried with people. Yeah. But back to that same card, I was strolling through the hotel lobby and I didn't have my card case with me. I had left it in the bar with Filmington and them. And I was like, hey, I'm just going to go check this lobby out. It's packed with people. This is nuts. And I walk out there and sitting on top of the guy's case, sure enough, was a 54 tops Ted Williams PSA 4 with $400 on it. He had a sticker on it and everything. And I was like, I'll give you $360 for that. He didn't even negotiate. He said, you got it. Like I had $360. I had it in my pocket. I bought the card. I had to go back into the bar to put it in my case.
Yeah. There's pros to what Teapot's saying,
Yeah.
And good talking to Teapot at the show. There's pros and cons to both. Like I agree with your point, Steve. Of the show floor was my very targeted things. I think the way I described this in my big Monday recap video was the show floor was where I went with a shopping list. I went into the grocery store. I needed ingredients for the recipe. I bought exactly what was on the list, and then I got out. The trade nights were when you go to the grocery store hungry and everything. You just walk down the aisle and you just look to see what looks shiny and catches your eye, because you never know what you're going to walk into at those trades. I saw way more diverse inventory at the trade night than the show, if that makes sense.
I've never owned a Russell Wilson card or rookie. I've never hunted one down. I've never looked at them on eBay. I mean, I may have looked at them because sometimes you buy something just because it's too hard to turn down. So sometimes I might get curious, and I have nothing against Russell Wilson. I think he's a great quarterback, but Russell Wilson, you saw, the Russell Wilson card landed in my lap at a trade night. If you asked me going to the National, are you coming home with a Russell Wilson auto rookie? I would have been like, hell no, that's nowhere near my list. But it fell in my lap at a trade night. So,
let alone for Star Wars cards.
Yeah, for Star Wars cards. And I moved the Star Wars cards at the trade night because there really wasn't a lot of people in the show interested in buying Star Wars cards. You might have found a couple here and there tables that, might have been dealing in that offshoot type stuff. But trying to move Star Wars at a majority sports card show would have been tough. But I brought that stuff with me for an just in case moment, and it actually happened. Dustin wants that card. We're going to make a deal for that card. I'm just trying.
He was in chat earlier. Did you see him?
Yeah, he's like, tell him, because he's been messaging me today, and I haven't gotten back to him about the card yet. But
he ghosted me, and then I see he shows up on a live stream. You want to show the card real quick? Do you have it handy?
Yeah, I'm trying to trade down out of it, really. I mean, I'm trying to just get, because I didn't plan on having anything tied up in a Russell Wilson card long term. So I have it, and now I'm just trying to get some smaller liquid cards.
Nice Russell Wilson auto
quickly, like maybe some basketball.
9510 acetate card.
Yeah,
nice looking card. I saw it in person.
Yeah, it's 2012 Elite Rookie Inscriptions, numbered out of 35. The centering is 95959510. Auto 10. So it's a True Gem Plus, Auto 10, numbered out of 35. And his jersey, he has like number 88 or something, because it's like actually before he was officially on the team. Is like a practice squad jersey or something.
Yeah.
So, because he wasn't drafted, they didn't think he was going to be the starting quarterback when they drafted him.
Thanks for the super chat, RK. Let's hit a few more things here real quick, and then I saw very little graded comic books and very few graded games. There were some, but not many at all.
I only saw the Hulk 181. That's the only comic I saw.
I think it's legitimately a play that if you worked, so say you lived near Atlantic City and you didn't want to put the money out to go to the show and you just wanted to come in for the trade nights, I think that's a play.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
I live an hour and a half away. I mean, I could, if I really wanted to drive, I could drive every day to the National.
Late nights, man.
But yeah, some late nights. I want to have a hotel to be there for all the hangouts and all the after stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
is there, I asked everyone this so far. Is there anything? So now, post the first National, is there anything if you knew, what do you know now that you wish you would have done differently, or 2 years from now when it's in Chicago again, what would you do? Get in there earlier, stay later, stay at a closer hotel, or anything, or anything in between? Is there anything?
Yeah, all of the above. All of the above. Sunday morning came and I was super tired. I was super tired Thursday. So really quick how it all started, because we almost came up with a new slogan. I got in Thursday. I hadn't eaten since I left home. So I left for the airport early in the morning because I got in Thursday at noon in Chicago. So I went all day in the show. I didn't eat anything. It kept going. I was tired. Then I was hungry. And then I was hungry. I was like, I don't want to leave the show. Then I went to trade night for Card Collector 2. Then I went to trade night with you, with Blake Jameson. And then by the time I got out of that, it was like 1 a.m. And then Brad was crashed in the room. So I'm like, I'm not going to make a lot of noise in the room. I got to get an Uber back to the hotel. I can't walk. There's nowhere to eat. So I didn't eat. And then the next day I got up and I came down to the show. I didn't eat. I didn't eat until 1 or 2 when we all got together for deep dish pizza. And I kept saying that day to Michael Hamm, I was like, man, I haven't eaten since Delaware. And then everybody's like, man, And then people are like, "Are you hungry?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm hungry. I haven't eaten since Delaware." Like I said it a few times, and then everybody's like, "Man, that's going to be our new T-shirt. That's going to be my new channel slogan. I haven't eaten since Delaware." But then we ate lunch, and I was like, "Guys, I can't even say it no more, man. That stinks. I should have kept starving myself so that I could kept saying it." But I would have come in earlier because I want to be there on the earlier days. I'd like to get in with a vendor pass, like if I could get a connection. And Sunday, I really wish I could have went down to the show. My plane left too early. In Dallas, I got down to the show on Sunday for a couple hours. And I mean, I almost missed my plane, but I didn't want to leave so bad. And Sunday was such a good day that I wish I would have got a later flight. I actually was planning on getting a hotel room for another night and just getting a different flight. But I didn't because it was my daughter's birthday and stuff, so I needed to come home. But more time, even though it was super tiring and all of us are still recovering, I could have still done a couple more days there and had fun and been happy, even if I didn't buy anything else. And as far as from a dealing standpoint, probably just focus more on buying at the National, not go in with my case. The day that I had the most fun was on Saturday, and I wasn't carrying my case around. Now, I wish I had it at the hotel that night because I only had a handful of cards. But I had more fun when I was browsing and I was looking in the showcases and I was like, "Oh, cool, Larry Bird Flawless auto. Give me that. Oh, that Tony Hawk. I haven't seen one of these. Give me that." You know, I was buying stuff and it was fun. I wasn't carrying my case around. I had like 8 high-end cards in my little sling bag over my shoulder. And that was it. And if there was ever anything that really big that I wanted, I could have popped this out and been like, "Hey, can we make a deal here? I got a high-end card." But the stuff, you know, the $200 to $300 ballpark. Next time I just need to go in there looking to buy that stuff as opposed to, "Hey, I'm going to go in here, sell a $1,000 card and buy myself 3 $300 cards." You know, I'm just going to go in and buy my cards. And then if I feel like I need to recoup some money, then I'll look to sell later because more than likely that's a better time to sell anyway.
Yeah, or you could just sell it to trade night, honestly.
Yeah, sell it to
especially
trade
if you
night.
have like semi-in-demand stuff.
You know,
or you could like make a trade for, you get a card back
Mhm.
and you get a little bit of cash on top or whatever to, you know,
yeah, you get the right deals. I tell you, if you find the right deals at the show, you can buy at the show and sell online and make money, even online
or
with
to
fees
trade night later that night.
and the trade night. Yes, of course, with the trade night. I mean, it's like I'm going to do my video breakdown, and basically, it's not going to specify anything because people are saying we're dealers over comp. Yes, we're dealers fairly priced, or they weren't fairly priced. No, they were. There was dealers that were over comps. There were dealers that were fairly priced. There was dealers that were giving good deals and being underpriced. There was a little bit of everything. So nobody can say, "Oh, dealers won't come off comps." Some didn't, some did. Dealers are overpriced. Some were, some weren't. There were no deals to be found. There were. You just had to look in the right spots. So to give one absolute, "Oh my God, everything was overpriced and it was a liquidation event," I'm not going to use that term anymore because this wasn't at all directed towards bench clear. But everyone was selling. I would just say that it just wasn't true. Yes, people were selling. People were buying. People were trading. It was a card show. You know what I mean? That's what happens.
Yeah, I agree. So we'll wrap up on that. I've been going for about almost 2 hours now, and I'm pretty tired. I'm still not 100% fully recovered. I haven't had still like a complete full night's sleep, trying to get back on a regular sleep schedule again. So thanks, Sam, for popping in for a little bit. Thanks, Dakota, for popping in for a little bit. Steve, thanks for popping in a little bit. I'll let you go so you could go trade Dustin to Russell Wilson so he could get to sleep tonight. And we will catch you guys and girls on the next one. Hit the like button on the way out, chat. No video tomorrow. Hannah interview on Friday. So peace out, boys and
All
girls.
right, man. Later.
Later.